forward to our first discussion, that is on your mutual fund query. Firstly, if we talk about the world of mutual funds, then investing at regular intervals is important. But what is more important is to give your portfolio the right balance. If you are a mutual fund investor with allocation towards multi-cap and flex-cap fund, then the segment is for you. We'll not only break down the basics, but we'll also tell you how you can strike the right balance between multi-cap and flexi-cap funds in your portfolio. And for that, we are being joined by Mr. Tarun, Birani, who is the founder and CEO at TPNG Capital Advisors, to take the discussion forward. Thank you so much, Tarun, for joining us today on ET Now, and a very good evening to you. Let's break down the basics for our viewers, because a lot of viewers get confused between what is flexi-cap and what is multi-cap, because both of these names are quite similar in terms of diversification. So when it comes to the technicalities, what is the difference between the two?
So, good evening, Shrishti. Flexicap and Multicap funds are open-ended equity mutual funds that invest into equities with varied market capitalization. So, whereas Flexicap, at one hand, invest minimum 65% of their investment into equity or equity-related securities, Multicap at the same time has a leeway to invest 75% minimum into equity or equity securities. However, there is a caveat we need to understand, that Multicap must invest at least 25% into each category of market cap, like the small cap, mid cap, and the large cap. So they need to make sure there is a restriction, minimum 25% into each category, whereas FlexiCap does not have any such restriction, and FlexiCap can invest into any kind of market capitalization, maybe either a large cap, mid cap, or small cap. So it gives them a complete freedom to pick up equities across the category. And balance 35% can be, again, they can look at international also if they want. So that is one of the big difference between flexi-cap and multi-cap funds.
Okay, so here you have the difference between the multi-cap and the flexi-cap fund in terms of market cap investing as well. What are the limitations and what is the maximum that these funds can invest into, and in terms of international exposure, you get all of those details. But moving on, Tarun, when it comes to choosing between the two in terms of the current market scenario, what is actually advisable? Because in terms of market, in today's trading session, we did see Nifty hitting an all-time high level, but in terms of the performance of the small cap and the mid cap, a lot of these names are lagging behind. So keeping the current market dynamics in view, what is actually favorable for the investors?
So, Srishti, I am of the opinion life should be simple. It should not be complicated. If you look at categories like this are little complicating things for investors. So let me give you a perspective, and that perspective has both the sides. So multi-cap as a category is good for somebody who is new to investment and who does not have exposure to various categories. And multi-cap as a category gives you automatic exposure to large cap, mid cap, and small cap with 25% exposure, and rebalancing is happening automatically under this category of mutual fund scheme. At the same time, FlexiCap gives a complete flexibility to move anywhere for any capitalization it can move. So I'm a big votary of flexibility. Any category which gives you flexibility in a market environment, that should be the one which should be picked up. My strong suggestion is one should build a core portfolio of large cap, mid cap, and small cap in that category only, rather than building up into a multi-cap kind of category. So that is, once your core portfolio is already built up, I don't see a reason for having a multi-cap kind of category in your portfolio. A flexi cap, there is a lot of merit to have in your portfolio, because it gives you flexibility to the fund manager and to generate a risk adjusted good return on the portfolio. So from that point of view, I feel flexi cap has a lot of merit compared to the multi cap.
Okay, Flexicap is having more merit than multicap is the opinion coming in from Tarun. But Tarun, both of these funds actually give investors a lot of choice when it comes to diversification. They help in doing so. But keeping the current market dynamics once again in view, what is advisable if somebody is looking to have both of them in the portfolio? Is that actually advisable, or in terms of allocation, what is the advice coming in from you?
So let's look at an environment. I think from an environment perspective, we are in an environment where inflation and the interest rates are on the higher side compared to last 5-7 years, where we have seen the inflation and interest rate were at a lower level globally as well as in India. So in an environment which is a inflation prone, I feel one need to have more flexibility than controlled investment. So from that point of view, I feel Flexicap has much more merit. Apart from that, let me give you an example. Let's say after the pandemic, there was a rally in small and mid-cap funds, and we have seen most of the small and mid-cap funds have generated outstanding return compared to the blue chip category. But we have seen with the risk on trade, which is building up across the globe, the small and mid-cap as a category has not been doing that well, and there is concern about their continued rally going forward. So in that environment, a multi-cap, you have to compulsorily have 25% each into small and mid-cap fund, which as an investor, I don't feel there is that I want to go for that. So Flexicap gives me that kind of flexibility to invest into the category where fund manager feels as a better prospect in the current environment. So from that point of view, also I feel in the current environment, Flexicap has much more merit than multi-cap.
But Tarun, the clear advice coming in from you is that Flexicaps are having much more merits from the multi-cap funds. But taking your advice, if somebody is looking to invest in a Flexicap, so what are the factors that one should be looking out for in terms of choosing between the various options available when it comes to the Flexicap fund? And for the same, when it comes to the multi-cap investing, what are the factors that make a difference between the Flexicap and the multi-cap funds, and what are the factors that one should be looking out for the multi-cap for those who are looking to invest in the same?
So when you look at investing into any category of funds, I always look at 3 to 4 important things. One, the most important is the parent. Who is the promoter of that fund house? Who are the fund managers who are managing it? What has been their past track record? All these are extremely important from a parent point of view. Second would be the process. What is the philosophy that fund house or the asset manager has? Whether they have a growth style of investing, whether they have a value style of investing, or whether they have a style which can go uninterrupted into any category. So it is very important to understand that. After that, it is very important to understand the performance. From a rolling return point of view, it is very important to identify from a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year perspective, how has this fund performed compared to the category. So this gives you a very clear idea whether this fund manager is capable of generating alpha for your portfolio. Whenever you are looking at an active strategy, these are some areas which we look at. When you ask me the question that yes, you want to go for a multi-cap fund, so in that also all these people, performance as well as process is very critical while selecting a right multi-cap fund. Multi-cap fund, again, you can look at a fund house which has a very good expertise in managing a mid and small cap category could be favored because multi-cap has almost 50% of that in the part of the portfolio. So that could be one thing one can look at.
Okay, but when it comes to the tax implication, Tarun, are these both funds, that is Flexicap and Multicap, similar in nature, or is there any difference in terms of taxation?
So from a tax perspective, both of these gives you equity-oriented taxation only. So less than 1 year is short-term capital gain of 15% and more than 1 year is 10% long-term capital gain.
But in terms of risk tolerance, what is the advice coming in for somebody who is having a very low appetite in terms of taking the risk?
So in terms of risk appetite, index fund would be the best fund one can look at. But if you have to strictly go only with selecting between a Flexicap fund or a multi-cap fund, I would say that Flexicap fund would be, from a risk point of view, would be higher because it has an option to go all out into small and mid-cap fund also. So if you don't want any kind of small and mid-cap in your portfolio, then in that case, multi-cap would be much less riskier than Flexicap category.
With this, we'll let you go on that, Tarun. Thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now and helping our viewers to draw a complete and clear line between multi-cap and flexi-cap funds and what you should be going out for in the current market scenario. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you on the channel.
Thank you.
Okay, but with this is wrapped to the first segment of our discussion on multi-cap versus flexi-cap. But with this, it's time to slip into a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.